Hello there, my name's Tracy Alsam and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in Canada. Welcome to my Papercraft with Me YouTube channel and to another 30-second solution. Today I'm going to be talking about embossing folders. These are plastic folders that are textured, and you put card inside, put them under pressure, and it pushes the design of the folder into the card. And Stampin' Up have two different kinds of folders. They have the standard textured impressions embossing folder, which has a design, and it's a lovely idea. They've now been bringing out these much thicker ones. As you can see, they are a lot thicker, and these are called dynamic textured impressions embossing folders, and these create a much more 3D look. They both emboss, but for this particular type it's a lot thicker, and there is a special way to actually use these. But I wanted to give you just a few ideas on how to get the best from your embossing folders. So let's start with how we would normally get that pressure that we need, and that's using Big Shot. Now, if you have had a Big Shot for a while, you may have one of these kind of platforms with the tabs on, and if you are using an embossing folder, you need to have it with all the tabs open, and that means you're just using the single base, and you cannot substitute this for the magnetic platform. The magnetic platform will be just too high, so that's how you would use that one. But as this is trying to get it all onto one video, I'm going to use one of the newer platforms, and that looks like this. It comes with, I can't put my fingers on it right this second, here we are. It comes with two pieces, but they are not attached. You have the thin die adapter, which, as you would think, you would use if you're going to do some cutting with thin dies, but for everything else, for doing your embossing folders, you just need this one piece. And because it doesn't have the bits attached, you're not worrying about all these extra bits that are left over. So to do your embossing, you would put your platform down, you would put a cutting plate. I'm going to use one of my really old ones. Then for your embossing folder, you would simply put the card inside the folder how you want it to be. This is a wavy line, and if I'm going to have my card this way up and I want this to look like the sea, obviously I want my wavy lines to go in that direction. So you would simply put your card inside the folder, put the top plate on. I'm just using a much newer top plate just so that you can see what I'm doing, and you run it through, and it can be tight. It's supposed to be tight because otherwise you wouldn't get the pressure on the card. So when we take that out, you can see there's the card. Now I've noticed that, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little bit there where the card seems to have cracked a little bit. There's another little bit there, and that is just part and parcel of putting the pressure onto the card. The fibres in the card are trying to fight against the pressure, and that can sometimes happen. Now, with the new dynamic folders, this one happens to be 4.5 by 6, yeah, and you can get 6 by 6 ones as well, but this is much thicker, and there is a different way of using those, and also a different sandwich that you need to use for your Big Shot. And the first thing that you need to know is that you will need a little spray bottle or a stamping spritzer with some clean water in it, and that's the first thing with the dynamic folders. And all I'm going to do is lightly spray some water onto both sides of the card. Then I can put it in the folder And then for this one, because it is so thick, you only use one plate. There isn't enough room for the second plate to be on there. So once I've done that, it will fit through. You'll know if you're trying to use the wrong sandwich because it just simply won't fit through. Now, so there's the embossing. It's much thicker. You can see that. And what you would need to do is to set this aside and allow that card to dry fully before you try and use it, obviously. Now, it did occur to me that if this folder, the cracking was caused by too much pressure on the card, what would happen if I used that same trick and embossed with some damp card rather than the normal way of doing it. So let's put that cutting plate back on. Let's put that embossing folder back there. Because this is a thinner one, we need both plates, and it feeds in. Okay, I've not done this before, so it really is an experiment. Let's see what happens. And it seems to have worked. I do not see any cracking on the card at all. So even though with the standard embossing folders, even though they don't tell you to dampen the card first, it seems to make a difference in the quality of the embossing. Certainly it's something that I am going to do from now on. It's a great idea. So just one final thing with the dynamic folders. So again, put that one on there. I've got a different one here. This is the Basketweave folder. So what you want to remember, if you want a really good impression, is because we're going to spray it every single time now. Both sides, just a little bit of clean water. Put it inside the folder like that. This is the Basketweave folder, which you can currently get for free from Sale-A-Bration. I'm going to put my top plate on. It's a thick folder, so it can only take one plate. I'm going to run it through and then go back the other way. So it's effectively gone through the big shot twice. And there is the embossing. The recommendation with these dynamic, the extra thick embossing folders, is that you take it through the big shot, you take it back, and that gives you the very best impression that you can get. So that I will use on a card at some point in the future. But first of all, I will certainly make sure that it is dry before I use that piece of card. So I hope that's been useful. As I say, even with the thinner embossing folders, dampen your card very slightly. I happen to use the spritzer bottles. They're handy. I can put them in a craft case and take it with me wherever I go, and I've always got it there. But you can use any kind of spray bottle that you happen to find. You probably find them very cheaply in pound store or the dollar store. But just spray the card very, very lightly with clean water before you emboss, and you will find a much better result if you do that. So I hope that's been useful, and if you want any more information or you'd like to be able to purchase these embossing folders, as I say, the Basketweave one is currently only available as part of the Sale-A-Bration promotion, but from the 1st of June you'll be able to purchase this from the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalogue like any other item. So all of that information will be on my blog today, and I'll also put details for these particular items in the description bar just below with a link to the blog. So I hope that's been useful, and if there's anything else that you want some information on, you can always get daily paper crafting inspiration, tips and the latest news from Stampin' Up! Over on my website and my blog, and you'll find that at tracyelsom.stampinup.net. So I hope to speak to you again soon. Bye!